Only 8 teams in the nation remain, and for just the second time in program history, the Cardinals are in the third round of the NCAA Division III playoffs. North Central faced a potent offense in University of Wisconsin-Platteville in the second round, but the defense stood strong and the offense was plenty potent itself. Now it's on to Bethel in Minnesota for another clash of top 10 teams. The playoffs roll on next on the Red Zone. Welcome inside the Red Zone. I'm Justin Zipser. North Central head coach John Thorne joins us to open the show. Coach, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
54-24 over University of Wisconsin-Platteville. You're now 4-0 against the WIAC schools, and it was certainly a contest where you faced your stiffest opponent as far as offense goes, and the offense or your defense sort of had a bend but don't break mentality. They were very good really when it mattered.
They really were, and the opening drive where Jason Callahan got the interception right there in the end zone and brought it out to about the 30-yard line. That was really a huge momentum swing right there, and it just sort of got us off to a really, really great start, you know. So the defense got their hands on 2 or 3 others, but we didn't quite catch them, you know. So this week it's going to be really important that we actually catch anyone that the other team decides to throw to us, you know. So, but we're very happy with the whole game. Offense, defense, and special teams, everybody seemed to be really focused, and they made some really great plays.
That seems to be the trend here as we head deeper into the season, which is probably good for a coach where all 3 facets of the game are starting to excel each and every week. Let's talk a little offense here. Ryan Kent, a fantastic performance, 257 yards, second all-time North Central single-game history, 4 touchdowns, which tied a single-game record. What can you say about his game? I mean, really, he came out of nowhere. Last week, we were talking about the fact that none of your running backs came through with a really huge individual performance, and right on cue, here's Ryan Kent with that performance. He
did. The very first play of the game, we kind of got stuffed for no gain at all, you know, and I thought, oh boy, this might be tough to run today. And but the offensive lineman did a fabulous job for him, and Ryan he sort of got the hot hand. And once you get a player that is playing extremely well, seeing things, his vision was great, his cuts were great, he had a nice burst of speed and so forth. So we gave him a lot more carries than what we normally do because we like to rotate those carries, and he really made the most of it. It was pretty fun to watch him.
27 carries for Ryan Kent. Let's see a little bit of them in this week's highlight for the game against Platteville.
University of Wisconsin-Platteville coming off its first program playoff victory last week in Naperville for the second round. QB John Kelly nearly 3,500 yards on the year. We show you junior running back Ryan Kent as foreshadowing, but North Central does its damage first through the air. Just 2 plays into the game, North Central strikes first. Spencer Stanek to Chad O'Kane down the field. 83 yards later, it's a touchdown, 4th longest pass play in North Central history. They do get the ball back a few minutes later. Kent does the rest from 14 yards out, 14-0 North Central. Platteville gets on the board with a field goal, but NCC comes right back with a 7-play drive, capped off by this 24-yard scamper from Kent. Somehow gets through 4 players near the goal line for the score. After a Platteville touchdown, Kent finds another huge hole right up the gut. His third of the day, only the second quarter, 28-10 North Central. Platteville sticks around. An 8-play drive from the Pioneers ends with 6 points, 20-yard toss to Riley Bailey, 28-17. That's as close as the Pioneers get. First and goal, standing with the quick strike laser off the play fake, Chad O'Kane the recipient, 35-17 at the half. The first score of the third quarter is another big rush touchdown for 42-17. Kent, for his 4th of the day, ties a school record. He also finishes only 3 yards short of a single-game program record with 257. North Central dispatches Platteville and on to the third round for just the second time in school history.
Still stick with offense here. Chad O'Kane, a career day, 100 and 32 yards for him, which was a career high. He has 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Now, do you think this is because teams are starting to key in on Pete Sorensen, and here comes Chad O'Kane kind of taking advantage of that?
There could be a little bit of that, but we got to play 4 quarters this week, and we had to play 4 quarters against Wheaton. So there have been an awful lot of games where Chad and the rest of the receivers were done at halftime, and so they didn't get as many opportunities. So he's got great speed. He really runs probably our best routes of all the receivers, and so it was really fun to see the senior have a chance to make those plays, and he did a great job.
Now, switching over to defense a little bit, John Kelly, the opposing quarterback for Platteville, we knew he was going to be a factor coming into the game, and he certainly was a factor. But the difference is, like you said, Jason Callahan kind of took him out of his rhythm early on with the interception on the first drive, and really from there on out, he had yardage, but really his completion percentage was way lower than it usually is during the season. How did you take him out of the game?
I don't think we really took him out of the game as much as what we did. I think the most important thing that we did that maybe caused him a little bit of trouble was we got more pressure on him than what other programs have done, and so he felt that a little bit. Some of the receivers did have some drops, on some balls that he threw to him, and then our defensive backs did a great job against the bubble. And so that's your real high percentage throw. And so when they started trying to go more of the downfield throws, that's maybe what took them out of their game more than anything, is that they were throwing some things that are much tougher throws to make and to get open, to catch them, and all those things. So we were happy with the way our defense played, but he's a really good quarterback. They were a very, very well-coached team, and that was really an exciting game to play.
I think that's a fantastic point you made about the bubble screens. Those are high percentage throws, and really your defensive backs shed blocks, got to the wide receivers in time for really little to no gain for most of those plays. Alex Tripp, another fantastic game for him. He's just been a huge bright spot. Really, the entire defensive line has been fantastic. But what can you tell us about Alex Tripp and the way he's leveled his play up for the biggest games of the season?
He did have a really, really great game, and he's had 2 of them in the playoffs back-to-back, and so we hope that his body is healthy enough to have another one of those. And but the team we're playing this week is definitely the best team that we've played all year, and maybe the best team we've played all 12 years we've been here. They're very, very well coached. They've got size, they've got speed. They run a really good offense. And so there's going to be a lot of stress on the defensive linemen to be very disciplined and play very physical, So Alex is a guy that's been able to do that for us over his 4 years, and we hope there's another good game left in that body.
Well, Coach kind of alluded to the game coming up, and we'll talk a little bit more about that game coming up. We're just getting started with Coach Thorne. More after the break.
Yes, ready. Go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Thanks for joining us back inside this playoff edition of the Red Zone. We're still with Coach Thorne. And Coach, let's talk about this week's opponent, Bethel University. Both you guys are undefeated. Well, after this week, one team will have a loss, and hopefully it's not North Central. But let's get into it a little bit here. They had a close game in their second round game. They escaped with a 34-27 win in that game. And This is a high-powered offense, another high-powered offense. Do you think that your defense is ready for 2 consecutive high-powered offenses in weeks here?
Well, you're going to have to be ready, you know. and we played 2 great teams back-to-back when we played Wesleyan and Wheaton. This team is very similar to some of the that Wheaton does. I mean, their defense has some similarities. The size of their players have a lot of similarities. The speed that they have, that they can play, the contact level that they have, and all those things. So it's good that we've had to do back-to-back really tough games at least a couple times during the season. And so we're still trying to figure out as much as we can so that we don't go in there and leave things as a mystery to our players. So this has been a really busy week, and it's been a lot of fun trying to get ready for a great team like this.
Now, 34-27 win, that was over Wartburg College. Now let's talk about their quarterback situation. They have a starter, Eric Peterson, who's very good, has been putting up fantastic stats during the season. He was injured in the 3rd quarter of that game against Wartburg. Tom Keefe came in, essentially won that game for the team, or at least helped to get that win for that team. Peterson's questionable, or at least a game time decision for this game. We expect that he'll play. I assume that's better for you because you have more film on him.
Yeah, we totally expect him to be the starter on Saturday, and if they do have to play the other quarterback, their offense, he knows that. Both quarterbacks really know that offense extremely well. They're both comfortable with it, so they'll do fine at quarterback. And we know we have to be ready to defend a guy that's going to have a good game.
And you two, both of your teams are very similar in the fact that you put up a lot of yards per game. They put up around 466 yards per game. They only give up about 15.5 points per game. So they have the high-powered offense. They have the structured defense that is holding opponents to around 300 yards per game. We know that your offense is very good. We've seen them all year round, obviously. Spencer Stanek has waited a long time for an opportunity like this with the 2010 game against Whitewater, the loss in the 3rd round. Here we are in 2013. This team has a chance to go into the national semis for the first time in history. What's the message to your team heading into this gigantic game?
Well, not necessarily a big message from me, personally, or the coaches. The players have a certain calmness about them, and they have a certain confidence about them, and I really feel confident that they're going to be ready to play really hard, and they know they have to. They know the field is going to be difficult. It's going to be really hard, and it's going to be very cold and so forth. They're playing a team that's got great size and speed and very physical. Their defense has got an All-American linebacker that people from that area say, is exactly like a Matt Winger, only he's a lot taller and weighs 240 pounds. So that's not a good thing for us to have to deal with that. So we're really excited about the opportunity, but we also know how challenging it's going to be. And so if we can figure out ways to help our guys control, the warmth in their hands and feet, that'll make things a lot better for us. If we have a lot of trouble in those areas, then of course it's going to be a lot more difficult.
Now, as we talked about, North Central back in the 3rd round for the first time in 3 seasons, and in this week's Cardinal Corner, the team is ready to make the next leap to the semifinals.
The last and only time the Cardinals went this far into the playoffs was 2010, when today's group of seniors were only freshmen. While they have a tangible connection to the 2010 3rd-round loss against University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, there's still a feeling of a fresh start for this year's contest.
It still hurt last time when we lost, so we're just trying to do our best and keep the dream alive, really just continue in the playoffs, get farther than any other North Central team has gotten.
In that Whitewater game 3 years ago, NCC led into the 4th quarter.
Touchdown, Cardinals! 6-0 North Central on the run from Kukoc.
But 3 Cardinal turnovers were converted into Warhawk points.
Both teams are going to have their ups and downs. and it's how we respond to what they do, and it's how we respond to, you know, maybe things not going always our way. That's really going to separate us from the good teams and from the great teams. So just to stay persistent and you know, not get flustered when things don't go our way. That's really the biggest thing that I took from 2010.
And it seems that the lesson has been learned by everyone involved.
It's about not beating ourselves, because when you get to this point, every team's going to be good. So the team really that makes the fewest mistakes really wins.
The player with possibly the most personal stake in this game is quarterback Spencer Stanek. Starting as a freshman, Stanek threw 2 interceptions in the Whitewater game. But look how far he's come. In his 5th year, Stanek should set single-season records for passing efficiency, completions, yards, and completion percentage. He's already shattered the single-season touchdown pass record. Now it's his and the team's chance to wash away any bad taste from 2010.
So it will be called for this game. It's in Minnesota, and it's going to be your first road game in quite a while. Last time you played on the road was the Wheaton game back in early November. I know as a coach you're very cognizant of the weather and what it's going to play like on this week's game. The good thing, as I guess we were kind of talking about before, the fact that the Albion game was very cold, the first-round playoff game, very cold, kind of prepared your players. Is there anything that you can do as a coach to game plan to the weather?
Well, certainly the layers of clothing have to be the right kind of things, the type of shoes we need to wear. So we've tried to do things so we have options once we get up there and really get on the surface. And really, Bethel's doing a wonderful job of trying to make it a great opportunity for both teams to actually play what looks like football and not just be out there freezing, So they've got heaters on the sidelines, and I think they've even got from the University of Minnesota their sideline heated benches for both teams, both sidelines. So that is going to make it a fun environment for everybody, and that's all you want, for this kind of game. You want it to be fun and exciting for both teams and for both sets of fans, and then just play Cardinal football.
Cardinal football. We can't wait to see it. We hope it's a great matchup, and hopefully it's a win for the next time we see it, Coach.
All right, thank you.
We'll see Coach next week, but don't go anywhere. There's still more Red Zone right after the break.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
We're back inside the Red Zone. Seniors Ryan Szudarski and Trey Hartema with us. Guys, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
So it's a big win against Platteville over the weekend, and Ryan, we'll start with you. I know it was a busy week last week. You had finals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the week for a lot of players. Thanksgiving obviously was Thursday. The game was Saturday. How do you guys? Obviously, the result was a win and a pretty great win. But looking back, how do you think everyone kind of prepared for that game with a busy week?
Well, every year that we've been here, we've at least made it to the second round. So we've had to deal with finals and all that. So our coaches this year told us to just get a head start on studying. So we started preparing for finals a week or two in advance, just to make sure that we didn't have to do like late night cramming and not getting enough sleep that week. That's been an issue over the past, not getting great practices. But this year we had great practices, and Thanksgiving, not going home, hasn't been an issue. Like I said, we've done it every year that we've been here, so we're used to just having a team dinner every year. So, I mean, I guess that's how we did it, just getting a head start.
I can definitely speak from experience. Late night cramming can be pretty difficult for someone taking finals. So, I mean, we knew that the defense had a huge task in front of itself coming into this Platteville game against John Kelly. We talked about with Coach the fact that first drive, you intercepted Jason Callahan. Jason Callahan, it wasn't an interception, and really you guys did keep to a lower completion percentage than what he's been doing all year. Even though he got his yardage, how would you gauge the job that you did on that passing offense?
We We stepped up when we needed to. We watched the film and we kind of realized that we didn't play exactly how we had been all season. They're a great offense. We know that. They have great receivers and their quarterback has had a phenomenal year. But looking back at it, the technique that we needed to do, we hadn't really done it to that degree last game. So left some room for improvement this week. And that's what we've been focusing on this week during practice so far.
And over to the offense, Ryan, I mean, you guys did a great job blocking for Spencer Stanek, blocking for Ryan Kent. What can you say about the job Ryan Kent did, you being a mostly blocking tight end, although you have caught 14 passes for 140 yards? What can you say about the job that offensive line, yourself and A.J. Thomas, the other tight end, did for Ryan Kent and opening up holes for him?
Well, we knew they were going to be a good defensive line. A couple of their guys were pretty impressive from watching film, and we kind of just took it to them. I mean, and Ryan Kent made everyone look right, so which is always good, just like Coach did last year, making everyone look right. And we wanted to get to the third round so bad, and everyone on this team knows that we have such a good chance of going so far, and that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we get there. And everyone on every single play just does their assignment, and we've been really focusing on technique this year, having good technique and being fast and physical, and that gets the job done.
The technique has been fantastic. It's gotten you this far, and the coaches and players have certainly preached the fact that you guys have taken it 1 week at a time, and you guys have admitted that, yes, it's cliched, but at the same time, it's what you guys need to do. So you guys weren't talking about this possible third-round matchup, getting back to this third round until this week because you took it 1 week at a time. Now that you're here, how exciting is it, being a senior, being back in the third round of the national playoffs?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it was our freshman year when we got there the first time, and this is only the second time in school history that we've done it. And we know we have a really good chance of going farther than just this. But like I said, it just comes down to technique and how we play, because every day just matters who will do as best they can to win the game.
As we talked about, the Pioneers got their yards in the second round, but for the most part, North Central's defense held strong. Let's take a deeper look in this week's What's the Word?
They were definitely the best offense that we've seen. They're just, all over the field, especially from a defensive lineman standpoint. It's hard to really get into the game when the ball is flying across your head this way, flying across your head this way too, just because they get rid of the ball so fast. So they were really good, and they did what they did well.
Really on the game in the first quarter, that big turnover in our first drive, we were driving the ball and we threw an interception in the red zone, which we've been trying to work on. But that in the second drive, we ended up kicking a field goal, and we're already up down 14-3. I think that was big for us.
They executed the stuff that they wanted to execute, but it just came down to us really kind of getting on our heels and really slowing them down and really focusing on just putting a stop to everything that they want to do. And it ended up working out pretty well, especially with the interception. But as a defensive line, we really wanted to get some pressure, and we started to get it towards the end when he started losing a little bit of confidence just because he was hurt and stuff like that too. So props to the coverage slowing him down and giving us some time to work too.
So Trey, looking forward to this week's game against Bethel. We know that they're a pretty balanced offense. They have around 250 yards passing per game, around 260 or 70 yards rushing per game, and we know that what we don't know is the quarterback situation. We assume that Eric Peterson will be the starting quarterback for this game. What can you tell us about the way that he plays for his receivers?
I mean, he's a really accurate passer. He makes the decisions that need to be made. His receivers make him right when he doesn't make a good decision, because their whole offense is they're big. The receivers, linemen, everyone, and so he's accurate, and even when he's not accurate, his team makes him right.
And those guys are big, but I guess Coach has always told us before these games against the WIAC opponents that they grow big guys in Wisconsin. So you've had a lot of experience against big players, physical players, and I assume you're going to take some of that knowledge that you've learned in those games into a big Bethel team.
Yeah, like you said, we definitely have experience with bigger teams this year. All the WIAC schools we played, the 4 that we've played, they've been bigger than us. We're not a massive team to begin with, so we've had experience being undersized. So it's just the matter of playing low, fast, and physical, and just using our technique, like we've said, to our advantage over the bigger teams.
Well, technique seems to be the hot word, and we assume you guys are going to come out firing on Saturday. We wish you the best of luck, and also in staying warm as well.
Yeah.
When we return, North Central Sports Information Director Clark Tuscher joins us to talk North Central women's basketball next on the Red Zone.
Today is Saturday. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Welcome back to the Red Zone. North Central SID Clark Tuscher with us to help put a bow on things. Clark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking men's basketball last couple of weeks. Let's switch over to the women's side of things. Coming in to this week's action with a 3-2 record, and this is what we're used to seeing. A lot of offense, a lot of points given up on the defensive end. General assessment from you seeing this women's team play a couple times this year.
Well, they come off a game against Luther, which they were 3-1 coming in and played some pretty tough competition. That was a good team they played, and they wound up losing by 15, which, when you play, this style of basketball, 15 points tends not to be a whole lot. You're dependent on three-point shooting, and when that's off the mark a little bit, you can struggle. But to go up against a team that's a little better than some of the other ones that they'd seen, with the exception of Hope, and come up with the result that they did. They're looking at it as a sign of progress for a team that's still bringing in a lot of young players.
Definitely a lot of young players. Deja Moore is one of the best young players on the team, averaging about 11 points per game, which is second on the team, second to Laren Shoemaker. What's the dynamic between those two players? Laren obviously a post player, and Deja obviously a slasher as well.
Well, Deja's kind of still trying to adjust to playing for a minute or two at a time and coming in and out, and kind of the ins and outs of that offense as well. Laren's been around for a little while and understands a little better about where to be to make sure that she can get the ball in a position where she can do something with it. And I think she and some of the other players that have been in this for a couple of years have had a chance to bring Deja and a few of the other freshmen along, and it's turned out to be a pretty good partnership for both of them. Being able to work in the open court like Deja can, it really kind of suits her style of play to be able to get out and handle the ball and go to the basket.
And obviously this team, as we mentioned, scores a lot of points, gives up a lot of points. The opponents are shooting nearly 51% from the field. Is that something that Coach Michelle Roof will kind of just take and say, well, we have to score more points, or do you think she was trying to make a concerted effort to get in the passing lanes, make more steals?
I think it's getting the press to the point where people are in the right positions to begin with and reacting appropriately, and doing a better job of keeping the other team out of the offense that it wants to run and getting a ball into the hands of the players they want to get it to. So I think it's probably one of those problems that gets fixed 2 to 3 steps beforehand before you even get to that point. So I think as that press continues to refine itself and they continue to throw some new wrinkles into it, that's something that will start to take care of itself.
All right, well, definitely. They have 6 games this month. We'll kind of get a clearer picture of how they work out by the new year. Clark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
The Cardinals are on the road for the first time in nearly a month in one of the program's biggest games in history. Links to live video and stats for the third-round contest against Bethel University can be found on NorthCentralCardinals.com. Until next week, I'm Justin Zipser.